Hello boys and girls, welcome to it. We're stuck inside this weekend, so I thought I would put together the ultimate beginner's guide to filming mountain bike content with a GoPro. In this video we'll be covering a few of the most commonly asked questions. How to mount the GoPro, what settings I should be using on my GoPro, as well as a few other miscellaneous things along the way. So sit back and relax as we get into it. So here we are. This is the GoPro Hero 9 Black. I have the media mod attachment, which includes this nifty little microphone, external microphone, which helps a lot with wind noise when you're going at high speeds because of the foam casing here. So why don't we go through a few of the settings and mounting options that I use to film mountain biking content on this channel. I think the most common mounting option that most people go for with GoPros is using a chest mount, similar to this one here. This is my, straps everywhere. This is my Stuntman chest mount. This is my preferred chest mount. I've been using it for about 2 years now, and it's just absolutely brilliant. I cannot fault it whatsoever. This one comes with a J hook. I don't know if you can see that there. The way this works is quite simple. You wrestle with the straps over the head, arm through, don't bump the microphone. It just locks in like that. So yeah, that's how it looks without the GoPro. Different angles. It's quite discreet and minimal. The reason I like this one in particular is twofold. I love how comfortable it is. This one really is very comfortable. I suppose 3 points actually. It's well made. It's made by a mob called Stuntman, obviously. I think they're based in California and they make it out there as well, which is good to see. And 3, it's got a nice low center of gravity related to where the hook is and where the plate is. So the plate is essentially what is pushed onto your chest. And that gives stability, you know, on sideways, as well as the tilting. So a good base, low center of gravity, so when you add weight to it, it's not just flopping, which I've found to be an issue with like the GoPro branded chest mounts. This is what I do for about 90% of my content. A lot of it is trails and, you know, first person perspective from about this height. I flip mine upside down. This is the best way I found. And you just lock them in and you screw it on as tight as you can. So that's completely flat, as you can see. So if I'm standing up straight, this is generally a good angle because you're seeing essentially what you see when you're walking about. But when you're leaning over like this, you're kind of pointing the camera at the ground. So what I like to do is I generally go for about a 45-degree angle. So that's the degrees from the base plate here to essentially lining up with the GoPro. You'll get a feel for it when you do it a few times. I can just eyeball it and that's exactly where I want it. And you just lock it in and that's it. Nothing else. Don't touch it. Yeah, so that's the chest mount. Now I do have another mount and this is how I run it. I'll show you very quickly. So this is my full face. It's a 100% Trajector, which is, I like it. It's a comfortable full face. Here's what it looks like when I've got it on. Very comfortable, sideways and to the other side. Now, one thing that you would have noticed possibly already is I've got a little mount kind of zip tied here, and this is something that people like to do different ways, but this is what I've found to work the best. So there it is there. It might be a bit out of focus. And this is just the one that comes with the GoPro. This is the J hook. And I've kind of just zip tied it as much as possible. And I've done quite a few runs with this helmet, with the GoPro Hero 9 slapped on, and it hasn't moved. So I guess I'm doing something right. If you've got a full face, this is the great one to have because you don't have a big thing tied to your chest affecting your breathing and whatnot. So we're still attaching it upside down, but we want to go for more of a straight on angle. We don't want to do 45 degrees. So there it is flat currently. And that's not exactly where we want it to be. We want it to be just angled. Now I'll try and do this so you can see what I mean. Just want it angled a little bit up. I'm talking like 10 or 15 degrees, if that. Something like that. Not much at all. And once again, this is one of those things that you'll get a feel for. But this is the angle that I sort of find works the best. And you can see on screen now a few examples of this camera angle. Yeah, works good for me. So those are my two angles that I generally go for when filming with the GoPro. Oh, helmet here. I suppose another thing that I want to talk about is the camera settings. And I'm gonna kind of just run through what I'm currently running on the GoPro Hero 9 and just give a few thoughts on them. It's pretty beginner friendly. There's no complex post-production that you really need to do to these settings. And I'll explain shortly. Let me just boot them up. Well, it would help if I had a battery in it. One moment. Okay, I'm just gonna go into my settings here and go through every single one. And I'm gonna pop these settings on screen as I go through them, as well as down in the description. Resolution and frames per second. That is set at 4K and 30 frames per second. Some people like to run 24 frames a second for the more artistic look and feel. And obviously some people like to run lower resolutions. I find 4K 30 is a great setting for quality and a high frame rate. Lens. So I set that to SuperView, which is 16mm. That gives you the widest angle possible with the stock lens on the GoPro Hero 9. You can get a lens mod attachment, which then increases it even further, but you get quite a lot of horizontal field of view on that particular setting. HyperSmooth, always set that to boost. I mean, it's not too noticeable on the helmet cam because you have natural stabilization coming from your head, you know, moving about when you're going down the trails. But when it's strapped to your chest, even with the really, really nice chest mount that I use, you still get a bit of bobble, a bit of shake. And you know, the HyperSmooth on the Hero 9 is just, it's phenomenal. No need for a gimbal, it does the job. Scheduled capture, just turn that off. Duration, no limit. That obviously means, you know, it's not going to stop recording at any time. If you want to do like little 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute clips, that would be one that you'd want to adjust. But I find just hitting the big record button when I want to stop filming the best. HindSight is off. Don't know what that is. Timer off. ProTunes. So we do want to enable ProTunes, and this is where things get a bit more complicated. GoPro lets you have the option of customizing some settings if you choose to, or you can just default on what GoPro thinks is the best. And obviously you want your footage to be work the best for you, for your environment. So I'll go through what works for me riding out in sunny Southeast Queensland. So bitrate, I set that to high. It affects how much you can record on your SD card. But I find that on my SD card, I'm usually able to get about 2 hours worth of footage, which I find fine. If you're running into issues, you can always reduce that, but I wouldn't recommend it. Shutter, that's set to auto. It has to do with coming in and out of low and high light, but I just set it to auto because, you know, lighting changes all the time as you come out of tree coverage. EV comp, so that is set to minus 0.5. This is one that I've sort of played around with a little bit, and I find this one works the best. Other people run other settings, like some people like to run -1 or -1.5, but generally for the conditions around here, -0.5 works, or even 0 in some instances work quite well, but I usually just set and forget -0.5. The white balance, that is set to 5,500K. Another set and forget feature. That's sort of the general neutral white balance setting that you want to go for. With most filmmaking, it's kind of like the natural white, essentially. ISO min is set to 100, and the ISO max is set to 1600 or 1600. Don't worry too much about those, set and forget. It influences how much white and black the image is able to capture to a certain maximum and minimum. Sharpness, I set that to low. And once again, this is something that is a personal preference. I think you can change it to either low or, yes, low, medium, or high. So low is quite good. Obviously that affects how sharp your image is. But when you're riding mountain bike, particularly at high speed, you don't capture too much of those, high sharpness images. You do get some blurred edges, I mean, in contrast to the high and medium, but don't worry about it. Now, this one might be controversial, and a few of you filmies or GoPro enthusiasts may cringe at this, but I set my color profile to GoPro, believe it or not. I have done RAW in the past, and that's not a bad option, but I'm quite lazy, and I'm a bit time poor at times, and I find that the GoPro color profile is generally pretty good these days, particularly on the GoPro Hero 9. Wasn't great on the 7, can't talk about the 8 because I didn't own it, but the 9, beyond a few slightly too dark blacks, it's pretty good. You get a good dose of contrast. For time investment, you really can't go past that color profile. You bring it into your editing software and it just works. And that, can be seen in most of my recent examples. I'll pop some on screen as some examples of that color profile. Okay, raw audio. So I set that to high, and that just gives me the option, if I need it, which I haven't really, to have separate audio files. Usually I think they're in WAV format. If I need to go in and fix some audio, I can have a separate audio file and a separate video audio file, so I don't, play around with one or the other. It's a nice option to have. Now, an important one, and this is particularly important if you're running the media mod, or if you have any form of foam or dead cat protection against wind noise on the device. So I set this to off. And the reason for this is, the wind reduction is quite good on GoPro. What tends to happen though is you're riding along, it sounds quite good, and then you pick up some speed and the wind starts to hit the microphones and you get the general wind noise that you would expect. And then it kind of muffles or distorts the audio. It doesn't sound great. If you've got something that is physically blocking the noise from coming in, like a foam or a dead cat, there's no real reason to have wind reduction on. So I turn that off at all times. And the final setting is related to just the media mode. So if you don't have the media mode, don't worry about it. But I just have the media mod microphone setting to front. So what I mean by that is, on the external microphone here, there's actually two receiving ends. So this is the front and this is the back. So if I was, say, a travel blogger and I was showing the viewer what I'm seeing, and I had the camera in front of me like this on a stick or something, you would want to set it to back, so you're receiving what I'm saying into the back of the microphone here. Whereas when I've got it on my chest or on my full face helmet, I set it to front for the very reason it reduces the amount of breathing noise you hear me say. You can still hear me. It's a little muffled on the full face, but it's not too bad. But the most important thing is you can hear what's going on around me, because it's not just about me. It's about the trail noises, it's about the conversations, it's about, the atmosphere of where I am. And so it's kind of the middle ground of being able to hear me and the conversations and, the trail sounds, the dirt, the tires, the brakes, all that good stuff. The front works quite well. Beyond that, that's it. Those are the settings. That's the gear I use to record with in terms of mounting it to my body or my head. So another thing would be editing software. So I use, personally, Premiere Pro, and that's from Adobe, or Adobe, if you're fancy. And it works for me. I've been using it for years. I love it. But I do know a few people that have gone for DaVinci Resolve, I think it is. And that's a free program, and it's actually really, really good. So if you're looking for a software package to edit your videos on, that would be the one I would recommend for people that don't want to spend any money. I'm going to leave a link to the, obviously the GoPro Hero 9, the media mod for the GoPro Hero 9, as well as the Stuntman chest mount with J-hook. And these are the everyday runners for me. So if you're considering purchasing them, there will be Amazon affiliate links. So I do get a commission out of this. Full disclosure if you want to purchase any of those. But yeah, I mean, that's it. It's my testament really, isn't it? Against everyone else's, but they work great for me. What more can I say? If you have any comments, please leave them below or reach out to me on Instagram. I'm always keen to hear what you guys have to say, or if you guys have any questions. Yeah, but beyond that, hope we're riding again, hope we're racing again soon. And until then, I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.